I'm Dave.
I'm Josh.
And we saw Shazam. Poof. Poof. And then we turned into children. When we're here to discuss it in great detail in the spoiler zone. So, we just did a very windy review
Yes.
of Shazam. And I think we're both pretty excited about it.
Yes. Yeah. I think I keep going back to the fact that this movie is everything I wanted it to be and more.
Mm-hmm.
I think much more.
Yeah.
Like, the more I digest this, the more we've talked about it. In just a short while, it's like, holy smokes. This movie is going to be, or this movie should be, the new trendsetter for superhero movies. Because, as we've talked about from last year, Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you top Spider-Verse? The next Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, good luck. Love you, Tom Holland, but good luck.
Yeah.
And also, in that regard, superhero movies. How are superhero movies going to top the great uniqueness of Spider-Verse?
Mm-hmm.
How, what's going to be better than that? Or what's going to be really different and take you on a different path? I think I just saw it today.
Yep. It's the new trend of family, of stories that incorporate lovable characters that you like,
Mm-hmm.
that you enjoy watching, enjoy being with.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving away from this era. And, we love dark. We love Batman vs. Superman.
Yes.
We love the gritty. That all has its own place. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that.
Dark Knight Trilogy.
The Dark Knight trilogy. There's so much good dark hero content, but if you want to keep things fresh, if you want to keep things moving, and if you want to evolve storytelling when it comes to this genre, you have to take it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that. It's time to move on. And Spider-Verse really was the first thing to just nail it. And DC's stepping right in there with this movie that taps into the golden age of comics. It taps into the fun of comics and the lightheartedness and the joy that you can have with these types of stories, where you can tell a story that has emotional weight and consequences and all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
But also, you don't feel bad after you watched it. You don't feel dark or depressed or no. It's like it's so fun.
Yeah. Nowhere did I feel like somebody had just snapped their fingers in this movie and made half of my favorite characters disappear.
Yep.
No, on the reverse side, this movie had a whole family get together, put their hands on a staff, and become superheroes by just saying Shazam.
Yep.
Not Billy. Shazam.
Yeah.
Which, again, was one of the really, funny points, funny parts in this movie that then, turned into something cool and fun. This,
Mm-hmm.
I think you had said it before, with the emotion and everything that this movie had, it just balanced it all perfectly. You didn't have too dark of a scene that the next moment that was funny, it didn't work out. No, it did. Everything, Billy meets his mom finally after searching for her and pulls the heartstrings, because the interaction between the two of them is oh crap. The mom is just I feel bad. I'm your mom. I left you, and I knew what I was doing, but I knew I was doing the right thing for you, because, she was an adolescent mother, which I thought was an interesting, key point that they added in there. She was I was very young, and I wasn't ready to do this, and that was, a real, oh, man.
It's a dark, child abandonment is a dark subject.
Yeah.
That it's tricky to handle something like that, and how are you going to fit that into a movie that has flossing in it, and goofy jokes and funny names, and you've managed to combine that type of humor with literally a story about a mom who just gave up her kid because she didn't feel like she could care for him anymore. And
that's our lead character. That's our hero.
But in doing that, when that happened, seeing Billy's reaction to it and the way that he dealt with it,
so good.
It's the show don't tell thing. where you showed in that one moment the maturity of his character, the pureness of his heart, which they get to.
Yes.
This character, he could have done so many things. He could, he in that moment, he was calm and he said, I just want to stop by to say, hi, I'm going to go back to my real family now. He didn't let on anything. He didn't guilt trip. He didn't break down. He didn't yell at her. He was more adult than he'd been in the whole movie in that one moment.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a great example of what this movie did as a whole.
And it's right there where, you're almost to the point in the middle of the movie, or, later in the movie, where I think I found myself wondering, like, all right, my biggest flaw right now with this movie is, why is Billy pure of heart? Why did... There's got to be a point in this movie. It's not just when he takes the crutches, or he takes the crutch from...
to fight off the
Freddie
bullies.
Freeman to fight off the bullies. Like, that's, in that moment, you think that's the moment, because that's when he runs away and runs into the wizard. But the wizard says, you're pure of heart. I'm picking you for this. And then he becomes a superhero, and then he becomes a 14-year-old as a superhero. And you're like, okay, I get it. He's a nice kid, but where are we getting with this? But then in that moment, and gosh, like, great acting.
And the evil doctor says, what makes you so worthy? What makes you the person? A couple times it comes up as like, why you?
Yeah.
And as an audience, we're also kind of like, yeah, why? What makes him that way?
Yeah.
And you see, just really,
he's pure. He's pure of heart. He's like, okay, Mom, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm just going to let you know that I'm okay.
Yep.
And here's the compass that I lost, that I've... Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful sequence, beautiful scene. I'm intrigued if in a sequel they follow up with that, and the mom comes for redemption and says, hey, I made it right, and I'm proud of you.
Maybe. I wonder.
Or is it just ended now?
Yeah. The way that for him handing that off, he was holding on to his past.
Yes.
Literally. When he gave it to her, it was a very much him saying, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for this anymore. I don't need this. Like, he's moved past it. And it was a great showing, like, props to the director for using visual metaphors and just really getting across everything without hammering it. It's not in your face obvious.
No.
But it's still unmistakable.
Yeah.
Like, you can't miss it what he's doing.
Well, and also, I don't know if you had any heartstring pulling moments in this movie. I thought one of the biggest ones was during the attack at the circus, and he gets attacked. He falls into the one thing. It's the balloon popping spot.
Yes.
Where
the tiger.
great foreshadowing with his mom, and he takes the tiger. He gives it to the little girl. In reference to earlier, he wanted to win the tiger when he was a little boy, because that was like the thing he just wanted to comfort him or whatever. And in the moment of chaos, the daughter and her, father, as we could assume, he takes the tiger, he gives it to her, and his mind, he's like, I'm letting go, and I'm gonna be that guy that my mom wasn't for me. I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna protect you, and I'm gonna tell you, take this, something that I wanted when I was like your age or younger, and feel comfort, because it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like you said, show don't tell.
Yep.
You just see in that moment, the way he delivered it too. Like, and again, we talk about the great acting and how many people now, we've watched other reviews that Zachary Levi was born to play this role. So when you see him flip the switch, when you see him in contrast to me and like zap, 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 to then like, hey, serious moment.
Even in that moment when he's doing that, you still feel like it's a 14-year-old boy.
Yes.
Offering like this comfort. Like it's not
the older brother kind of thing.
Yeah. The voice is still from a young child to another child.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, trust me, it's going to be okay. I know, as opposed to like an adult speaking down to a kid. It's just like... Yeah, I thought you were going to say the most emotional moment was when the bullies got YGs. Little tear to man. It's beautiful.
Oh man, I love that they had to be stuck up there. It was like twice they got what they deserved. Between
with
the truck. Oh
great.
man,
It was really good.
that was great. I thought they were going to have a Man of Steel moment. Remember a Man of Steel when he took the truck, crunched up, and put it on the telephone pole? This was just as good.
This is 2 for 2 with DC movies and superhero characters destroying the trucks of jerks. So
yeah,
you know what?
Well deserved.
Is that a nod? Do you think that's a director's nod to Man of Steel? That it's pretty specific, like destroying their truck.
Yeah.
In that way, like it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close.
We don't know for sure if that was Henry Cavill that showed up at the end.
We can believe it is,
but maybe Sandberg is just like, DC, don't give up on him yet.
Get him. Yeah.
You started with him, continue with him.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a question I like to throw out there: Superman, Shazam, Man of Steel, Shazam. What did you like more, and where do you think? Because I know you've talked about Shazam now. You think could lead Justice League.
I'll be perfectly honest too. Like I think this movie had the tone that Man of Steel should have had.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what a lot of people didn't like about Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Is that to them, Superman is that golden age Christopher Reeves character.
Yeah.
And not that Man of Steel wasn't good, but people expected it to have this tone.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it didn't, people didn't know what to think of it. Because they're like...
Not the silly, but the positive. The fact that everything was good.
Yeah.
And yes, Man of Steel was... like,
because Man of Steel had the same type of like character learning learning about himself, learning to be a hero.
Yeah.
But it was more dour.
Learning how to fly.
Darker. Literally learning how to fly.
Yeah.
Whereas this was basically that same journey, but it was so much emotionally brighter, and it had that feel-good feeling of the classic DC stuff that a lot of people remember, and it. Smart of them now to do this, to go in that direction, and also to not disconnect it, they're not erasing the past.
Yes.
They're still embracing. In this movie, they referenced all the Superman stuff.
Yeah.
All of that is all still canon, which is great. Keep all of that.
Thank you, Freddie Freeman, for like being your very own little like Comic-Con dude out there. Did you catch the Wonder Woman shirt? He was even rocking a Wonder Woman shirt.
Course.
Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Batman Batarang.
Yes. Like I love that this movie managed to keep all of the DC universe alive and well, because contrary to what some people might say, there's nothing wrong with any of the other DC movies.
No.
Like, they're great. There's some are better than others.
Yeah.
And
it was all started by our great friend Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder had a plan that if they'd let him finish his plan, it would have been incredible. That's okay.
Rant.
It's fine. Yeah. I know it's a rant for another day.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really happy that DC did not try to like reset things. They didn't erase the past. They kept that and acknowledged that and referenced that, and then change the tone. Like that's the perfect way to do it, because you are keeping everything together.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the practical effects.
Yes, I was just gonna say we talked about Zack Snyder and a little bit of Sandberg. Let's talk Sandberg and practical effects, because recently want to do some background research on Sandberg and watched Lights Out. Scared the crap out of me. But I also loved it for its simplicity and its practical effects. And 100% saw those elements in this movie. It was a pretty simple story. Like, there was nothing too complex about it.
I love the trend of horror directors being picked for these types of movies, because I feel like if you can master horror, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's probably the toughest genre of film to like do well. spoken as somebody who's seen tons of crappy horror movies. Like, I'm still waiting for a horror movie that legitimately scares me and it legitimately is truly terrifying. And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's especially when you get jaded to that type of thing. But it's a creative type of filmmaking that requires a lot of like visual, like storytelling and clues and foreshadowing and hint giving, and all of that comes into play in this.
Yes.
And not only that, but like the creature designs. And there was a lot of CG, but the CG was done in a way that felt grounded. Like the way he shot it.
It helped with the smoke and stuff.
The smoke and like the creature designs looked like they could have come out of, Ghostbusters. Like,
oh, they were 100% out of Ghostbusters. I mean, the gargoyle look that they had.
Yeah, especially I think what was the big one? Was it Greed? No, was
Greed had the two iron. Greed was the one that took
Sloth?
down his dad.
What was the blob-shaped one? There was one that was kind of like a giant mouth. It was just like this huge.
Because at the circus,
like,
his mouth finally opened. It was like, like that's disgusting.
Yeah, really cool. And even though they were clearly CG, there was something about them that felt more
their movement.
Yeah,
I think in every situation it was dark. I mean, so you kind of were like masking that because it was like the end scene, the office scene. I mean, you had the light in the background from daytime, but still, like the way they attacked, it was quick.
In the way
so you didn't have time to register, like, what does he look like? What does that look like?
Yeah, just enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who were getting grabbed, and it was just like he used every opportunity to use real actors in the props, including for the fighting scenes when the doctor is flying around. He's on a wire, and you can tell that it's not a CG model of him. There's a few times when I'm like, they definitely are like shooting him on a wire.
Be a good one to watch for the special features.
And like, which they did with Henry Cavill too in Man of Steel and movies, where they made a point to when you can shoot him, and they did it
and believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With Levi too, like they shot them, and I was getting Matrix Revolutions vibes during the final fight when they're colliding in the sky and they're like spinning around and fighting.
Yeah, you
could tell that it's actors that they've shot, and then obviously they're superimposed against the background. But they could have done CG. They could have done Marvel style CG in the sky fighting, spin the camera around 360
with a very neutral sky.
Yeah, we have the nice, perfectly color graded, boring sky.
Let's go back to the airport scene in Civil War.
Yeah, what a beautiful.
No, but this, I mean, nighttime, as you said, Matrix Revolutions, it wasn't raining, but you still had like the flying, you had the reflection of them as they're flying out over like the beautiful buildings and stuff.
There were a lot of shots too that looked to me like Reeves style flying shots. Where they're from the waist up, because back in the day they would shoot him, from here up, doing this, and then he's flying, because it's old school, what they could do. But they chose to do that in this, and they captured that look and that feel that I bet you any money that he did that to make you think of the old Christopher Reeves movies and the feeling of watching those old movies when you saw somebody, doing this. And like, it worked. It really worked.
And that's how he was practicing too. And also, you know, great character, as people have talked about in other reviews, saying like Freddie Freeman is the perfect sidekick because he not only catches the audience up, but he's the guide for the guy who doesn't know what to do with his superpowers. I mean, coincidentally, he gets, adopted by this family who has this giant superhero nerd, and then, and another great point, not to sidetrack too much, but like the emotions that come out in the point where he says, "Yeah, I want those powers. You don't think I'm jealous?" It's like, yeah,
very genuine.
But he still loves his foster brother. Like, he still cares for him. But in that moment, he's just like, "No, don't come at me with that, because it's what I would want too."
Having that
heart. Like,
having him be that nerd who, if you're the character in the audience, you're like, yeah man, like absolutely. But if you're like the mom or dad or whoever taking their kids to see this, who needs a little help understanding who, super what, who, they're like, Batman, Superman, superheroes, this is how it works. So having him explain things to Billy also explains to the audience, but never in a way that's too obvious. It's never like, of course. It's always just enough.
He basically did a nice DC EU recap.
Which, in a way, this movie feels like a launch, like a relaunch. In a lot of ways, where there's that moment where there's the kid playing with the Superman doll, the Batman doll, and then he sees Shazam fighting outside, and he drops them both, and they both land on the floor, and the camera follows them to the floor in such a deliberate way that...
Does he look back at the kid? Or is it just...
I think he looks in very briefly until he looks in, and then it's the clearest messaging that DC is saying, this is our guy now. This is us now.
Yeah.
Like, you thought you knew who we were? You thought we were just Batman, Superman, all those other things? Nope. We're moving forward. We're something new.
Yeah.
This is our future.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, all the holdovers are still having movies. I mean, James Wan still rolled out Aquaman with Jason Momoa. We're going to have Wonder Woman 1984 with Gal Gadot next year. But this, he's new. He wasn't in Justice League. He wasn't in Batman vs. Superman.
Yep.
Shazam, Billy Batson, that character is new. So what a perfect way to just nicely wedge him in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
Because they're not disregarding anything else that's happened. Even the second after credit, which I gotta say, stay for that as well. Because it's freaking hilarious. Talking to the fish. And he's like, no, and then he knocks the fact. And he's like, no, Aquaman shirt here. Like, this guy's legit. Are you kidding me? Like, don't make fun of him.
Yeah.
We've made him legit now.
Yeah. Yeah, it moved things forward while still lovingly referencing the past, which is the perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a little worried about DC just abandoning things.
I mean, you had the whole Joss Whedon bit with Justice League, so why wouldn't you? I mean, there was that concern. But I gotta say, they brought in that new crew. Walter Hamada and all the Conjuring crew they've been referenced. The Conjuring are the It people. The horror guys.
Yeah.
Who
they know what's
up. You had
up.
James Wan knock it out of the park with Aquaman, and now you have Sandberg knocking it out of the park with Shazam. I mean, I don't know who's next, but you have the Conjuring universe going on right now, and it may not be getting tons of great reviews, but they're making money, and they have a fan base.
Yeah.
And if you can just harness that universe bit and add it to all the substance that DC Comics has, you're going to have something that's so much greater than the Marvel universe, because they're set on being director based.
Yes.
And that's where you get your creativity from. And you're not worried about what the Russo brothers did on this movie or what James Gunn's doing on this movie. You're just concerned about that director in that moment and what he's going to do. I mean, do you think Patty Jenkins is at all concerned of what Sandberg did with Shazam? Probably not. There's nothing that...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to see Wonder Woman I'll see Wonder Woman 1984, but I won't be seeing it to be like, oh, I can't wait for Shazam to show up in this.
The connection, yeah.
No.
Would it be interesting if you did, though?
It'd be phenomenal. But
at the end, somehow,
with the way, with the way they're setting up Shazam, and I think this would be a great segue now to talk about where they're going with it, because he's got his own Justice League with his family.
Yeah. All right, so you heard it here first. This is what's going to happen. Henry Cavill, is he in? Is he out? Looks like he's probably out, but this movie was DC's way of saying, this is our new Superman. This is him. He does all the things Superman can do. We literally have Superman in this movie. They're friends.
To pass the torch.
Yeah, it's in
the cafeteria.
Absolute torch passing. And the next time they do a Justice League, you don't need Cavill because you've got Shazam. He's there. He has the same powers, the same abilities. He's friends with Superman, canon, in the movie universe. Superman can say, hey, I gotta go off to outer space to do something. Can you fill in for me at the Justice League while I'm out? Sure, no problem. The Shazam family is here to watch Philly, so we're okay. Done. You have your new omnipotent, he's the all-powerful character who's like the core of the team, but Wonder Woman is the leader, as she's been set up to be, so you still have that anchor.
Thank you, Ben Affleck.
That leader.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you cast John Hamm as Batman. It's going to happen. You're going to look back on this video and be like, wow, how did he know that was going to happen? John Hamm, Batman, playing the same Batfleck. And everyone's just going to be like, you look different. He's like, nah, maybe not, but whatever. Move on with it. They did it with War Machine. They can do it with this. Keep it. Keep what you've got, DC. It's good. It's not just good, it's great. You have a solid foundation for something, and you can tweak things here and there, but
have your side stories here and there.
And you can do your side stories, you can do your Jokers, you can do your Batman flashbacks, Suicide Squads, The Suicide Squad, all this stuff. I can't wait for all of this. It's working. It's working so far.
Yeah.
And I think it will work if they keep on this and they let directors, like you said, director-focused movies.
Yep.
Don't micromanage. I hope that they learn their lesson from Justice League.
Yeah.
Where they got rid of a director and then they micromanaged the next director and David Ayer. Let people do what they do and you get results like Shazam.
Yeah. Going into this with the trailers, and you're not a trailer guy, but I reviewed them for you, and as we watched them, we didn't see a lot.
Yeah.
But in the background, we knew about the 7 Deadly Sins, and there were some rumblings about cameos here and there.
Yes.
So we could make predictions of like, all right, so you're going to have this main guy, you're going to have the 7 Deadly Sins. It's going to be a lot for him to handle. How is he going to handle it?
If you only see the trailers for this, if you only see the commercials, you think it's going to be something much less than what it really is. And it's risky for them to do that.
Yes.
Because
I'm slightly worried right now. There are people out there that I've talked to that have said, that looks dumb.
Right. Yeah.
Watch it. It's not dumb.
And I got to admit, too, that I kind of knew about the family because there was a toy spoiler. There was a set of, I forget what it was, but it was some toy set that got leaked, as it often does, that showed the whole Shazam family. And that was a mostly confirmation. Sometimes stuff like that isn't always in the movie.
Nothing.
It could have been something else. It could have just been like, a DC set of the Shazam family because of the Shazam movie. Didn't have to mean it, but I'm like, ooh, I bet you they're going to do this. And that got me more interested because once I saw that.
Yeah. No, I remember because early on you were like,
Yeah, I was kind of And then I heard about the 7 Deadly Sins and I was like, oh. And then I saw that spoiler about the family and I was like, I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I was watching it kind of expecting and hoping for that family. And if you're waiting for that, they really do. They're like, it's happening. Because they're like, hey, this is Mary. And you're like, huh? And you're like,
oh my gosh.
It's going to happen.
When I heard her name was Mary, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's the right age to be like Miss Marvel. Like, it all just worked. And not knowing the background of anybody else other than Freddie Freeman and Mary Batson in the comics, but different. But it was still Mary in this.
Yeah.
I just started thinking like, okay, whether it's this movie or the next movie, he's going to have some help. And sure enough, one of the great revelation points in the movie is him flashing back to hearing what the wizard told him. And it was like, hey, it's not just me. It was my council of wizards. Yes. And he's like, Oh.
Yep.
Everybody in. Say
Yep.
my name.
And with the hands, the whole, like, when they all do their dinner time prayer, like, that leading into the end when they all do that. That's great setup. And it's such a, like...
Yeah, because didn't he say, like, hands in? Like they would do at the table?
Yep.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
just such a perfect example of, like, the family unit.
Yeah.
And just great. Great. I really do think, too, with the advertising, after the movie's been out for a few weeks, they're going to spoil that.
We'll get some stuff.
They're going to hint at that because they're going to be like, they're going to show you, like, hey, you know what? Because it's too cool not to. And unfortunately, we live in an age where this is why I don't watch trailers, because they show you the end of the movie in every trailer. Check it out. It's a fact. Watch a trailer after you watch the movie. You will see a shot from, like, the end of the movie. I've never found a trailer that doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. Not counting the Shazam ones yet, which makes them unusual.
Yeah.
Maybe some towards the end.
Yeah.
But they've shown a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
With, which, risky, but I think with all the positive reviews,
they knew what they were doing, and if there's enough people out there like us, like anytime we've discussed this movie, we're like, okay, everything they're showing has to be the first 20 to 30 minutes in the movie. Like, you know, it's an origin movie, obviously, so you're going to have the points where he's testing his flight, he's testing his strength, he's testing all his powers. And if you see it in the trailer, you see it in the movie, and you see how quickly it moves along. And they kind of almost brush it aside so quickly that it's a non-factor. Mm-hmm. They get right to it. Then they get right to the fact that Shazam is, you know, his 14-year-old self in the superhero body, where he's telling Mary, like, look out for number one. Like, that's him. That's Billy talking, you know,
they all figure it out. Yep. I love that they all figure it out.
Yes.
I love the little sister who's like, I kept it a secret, I did it. You know? And like, really, and if you don't know, you're coming into this with no knowledge of the fact that there is a Shazam family, it's going to blow your friggin' mind.
Yeah.
It's going to like a little kid's head would explode. Yeah. Because
like,
it's so...
And when it does happen... Oh my gosh. I just wanted to jump up and just be like, yes! I wanted to yell Shazam and see if something happened. It was just like, oh, yeah.
And it's such an earned moment for everyone in there. Because they've all shown in their own ways how they all are pure of heart.
Yes.
And together.
They care for each other.
Yes.
They were helping him.
Yep.
Take down the 7 deadly sins. They were like, hey, I get it.
Yep.
If we pull them all out of his body...
Yep. They helped him find his mom without being asked.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing these things, like, you see that they are totally qualified for these Shazam powers.
Yeah.
So when it happens, it's like... Well, and especially for Freddy.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, and like the one review we saw, they said it's not a foster family that is, like, evil, or there's no knocks on anybody. The foster parents... are nice. They're empathetic, where the two of them were foster children of their own, of themselves, and like immediately you're like, okay, like I get it. Like this might be the place he finally lands, and with a couple excellent like line drops by the mom and the father, with the whole like, you know, you come home, like when you come back to the place that you're home, and it was like. Giving you the feels, especially in the moment where Billy finally meets his mom, who is his blood, his relative, and he looks her in the eye and it's just like, all right, well, I'm just giving you an update on me. I got a family. Like, he realizes in that moment.
And in a typical Disney movie, someone would turn out to be evil. Or something will get flipped because there's that stereotype of, like...
From the family?
From the family. Because always like, and
there's always this evil stepmother and all that nonsense.
And they reference that in the beginning, like, oh, they seem nice, but they're actually evil.
Yes.
And they get that out of the way right away. They're like, no, they're actually wholesome. You're not going to have that character who turns out to be bad or who turns out to be pretending to be nice the whole time. No, they're genuinely good people through and through the whole time, and that was so refreshing to see because you don't see that all the time.
Yeah, just positive energy, and not to keep going back to Spider-Verse, but that's the same thing Spider-Verse had. Like, you had the family quarrels, but in the end, his dad shows up on the other side of his door and says, "Hey, Miles, yada yada yada. This is your pep speech. This is how you get it done." And it's like, it doesn't take your parents getting murdered or any of the stuff to like make these superheroes. Yes, like Batman has that origin, and Superman's planet gets destroyed, and there are those out there that are they kind of fit. But sometimes it's good to have one like this where it's like, hey, hey, foster family of love, we're gonna be great to one another, and we're gonna use that pure of heart, and it's gonna translate to our superpowers, and it's gonna translate to our superheroism.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, okay, we didn't have to go somewhere dark before getting here.
Yep. It's a nice thing to see. And it's a good trend.
Yeah.
And
it's a good change of pace.
It's a great change of pace, and I'm glad that it's happening in movies that are popular and doing well, because that's what makes other studios do the copycat thing.
Yep.
And they're going to look at this and they're going to go, wholesome is in. Okay, well, we need to make a movie that it makes people feel good.
Yep.
Like, what a concept. Going to a movie and being happy when it's over, and like feeling nice and just having good feels and wanting to immediately see it again and not wanting to like lie down on the floor and think about what just happened.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you have your quarrels. You have, where Freddie and Billy like are at each other, especially at the dinner table. I loved that. Like, that was the other thing that was, both funny and also great with the realization when they're watching the TV and they see Shazam and Billy and they're like, hey, they're quarreling like
an old married couple.
Like an old married couple. Yeah. They're yelling like they did at the dinner table. Peace, 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 peace. They put it together and it's like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then the little girl was just like, great, I'm glad you know. Now I don't have to, like,
I'm
spill
a
the
good
beans.
sister.
Yeah, I'm a good sister.
Yep.
There was a point I remember in the beginning where he was on the train, and you get to that scene where he's already going to be picked up by the wizard, and I'm like, oh, we're here already. And I think that's, as you relate to with origin stories, that's one thing you just have to get the story going, because you'll find yourself being like, oh, here's another origin movie. Here's another origin story.
Yep.
And this one, it just got it going. It got it going right away. And it didn't look back, because it just went layer upon layer upon layer until we finally got to the point where the whole family were superheroes, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And then it's just a fun montage of fights.
Yep.
And like you said, you're just left wanting, like, when's the next one? When's the next one?
Yeah.
Sign these kids up. Get a trilogy in before it's too late. Do something. Just like,
there's so much they could do.
so much. And also, I mean, you got the end credit scene, Mr. Mind. I was like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? You hear this voice. It was mysterious, and you're like, okay, is he gonna run in? Is Savannah gonna run into Luther in
Brainiac?
prison? Brainiac? Who is he gonna run into? And it's just like this voice, and you're like, what is that? And it's just this little caterpillar.
Yep. That's the point where I'm like, what? Josh, who is that?
Oh man, and I'm like jogging my memory of like Justice League or DC Encyclopedia or something. I'm like, I know him. What is he from? And then sure enough, he's one of Shazam's
main nemesis, apparently, according to Wikipedia and the DC Encyclopedia, which we checked. But that's great, because, and again, this is DC not being afraid to get weird, because if you can have Rocket Raccoon and Groot talking trees and raccoons, and everyone loves them,
and a bunch of characters that nobody knew about before James Gunn brought them to the movie theater.
Yes, exactly. So happy that DC is taking that chance, and like, you know what? If they'll accept that, they will accept our talking caterpillar guy, who is apparently extremely powerful, and that's great, because that's where you need to go. That's how you need to embrace the comic bookiness of comic book movies, because comic books are crazy. They're bonkers. They're weird as heck, and they have all sorts of just nonsense in them. But that's their strength, is you can do anything. And finally, I feel like they're taking it to a place where they don't need to be grounded.
Yep.
And
don't need to worry about it.
Nothing wrong. Like, the Nolan trilogy is, incredible in its own thing, and it's great. But I'm so glad that people are stopping their attempts to copy that.
Yeah.
You don't need to be that.
Yeah.
You can be something different, and you can do different things. Like, comics aren't just one thing. They can be gritty, they can be fun, they can be bright, they can be dark. And this is just...
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah. There's nothing grounded about, like, Star Wars. People love it because it's original, it's fun, and it's these characters and storylines that are made up. There's Lord of the Rings. Like, all these series, there's nothing grounded about them. They're just fun, inventive, and it's about time the comic book world took the fandom of stuff that isn't real and that isn't grounded, and just throw it all out there.
Yep.
There's so many characters that you can go with, and they're finally doing it. They're finally, DC at least, they're breaking away from realizing that, all right, the Nolan trilogy was fantastic for what it was, but there's a reason Christopher Nolan stopped it at Dark Knight Rises. He finished his trilogy, so it's like, DC, do something different now. Start something different.
Yep.
And Man of Steel had its groundedness. Dawn of Justice had its darkness, and it was incredible in its own right. And then Justice League and Wonder Woman started the almost mythical bit, because, I mean, how could you not? Wonder Woman is, the daughter of Zeus, for God's sake. Or she has the powers of the gods. So, you have a little mythical, bit with there. And then Justice League, you have Steppenwolf, and, we all know, if you read the reviews, Zack Snyder was going to have a lot more with Darkseid and more intergalactic stuff. But that never happened. So here we are. Aquaman talks to fish. He's underwater, and he's got his own world. Shazam, given the power by a wizard to do his own thing. And by the next movie, he's going to be fighting a little caterpillar with, his little voice box thing.
Yeah.
It's great. It's bonkers. It's so fun.
Yep.
It's going to be good. And it's not... The other thing, it's not a grounded storyline either. It's just crazy. It's fun.
Yes. And you can do that.
Yeah.
Yep. And they proved that. They proved that you can do that. You can tell this. The basic concept of a boy who can say a magic word and become a superhero is silly.
It's simple.
Yeah. But it works. And they did it in a way that just worked. And... I don't know. I'm really impressed. Like, I got no complaints. I'm trying to think of things I didn't like about it.
Yeah, it was hard in the immediate review to think of negative things and trying to think more objectively than bias, because it's like, I wanted this to be good. It was good.
Yeah.
So why am I going to try and knock it? People, go see this. See it a couple times.
No. Take
your family.
Yeah.
Warn your children that it is kind of dark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's...
I love that, though.
Yeah.
Like,
So it was such a Ghostbusters thing to have that, edginess. Because Ghostbusters toes that line.
Yes.
The first one especially, because it's funny, but, man, Zool and those creatures are scary.
Yep.
Red eyes and everything.
It was the 80s violence that was perfectly captured, where it's just scary enough to make a 10-year-old look away, but it's the kind of thing that in a few years that 10-year-old will come back and be like, yeah, I love this, because it leaves a mark. That's that perfect line, because I remember being young and seeing stuff like Goonies and things that were just whoa, that's weird, or Ghostbusters, or any of those movies, or even the early Tim Burton Batman was whoa, this is a lot.
Oh, a lot of Tim Burton stuff, yeah.
But it leaves that mark on you because you're absorbing it at that age, and then when you get older, you're like, oh, this is amazing. This was so cool, because it's great because it's not afraid to be violent and a little scary.
Yeah.
Family horror, is a term that's been thrown around for it, and that's really what had elements of. Well, thank you for for watching, as always, and joining us on this extended discussion of Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
As always, we appreciate your likes, comments, subscribes, all that. It's a huge help.
Yes.
Thank you. And I guess we'll see you next time
On A Lot of Critics Spoiler Zone.
in the spoiler zone.
Or in the lot.
In the lot. Join us in the lot. Join us on the couch. Join us on a table.
Oh.
Join us at my place.
A table of critics.
A table of critics. A lot of critics.
A round table discussion.
Yes.
When we sit on the round table.
Yes. That'll be in the future.
Do we get him? Yeah.
Go!